Is Hiya holding you back? Hiya is shame in English and or a deep sense of embarrassment. Shame or hiya is a hidden Filipino language. And of course, if you're only using shame as a tool to shame others, shame on you. But we're talking more about hiya or shame as a Filipino love language that is easily also misunderstood. Not only, well, especially if you don't understand the Filipino culture, but even Filipinos within the culture. So, why I'm going to share why it's a hidden Filipino language and give you a few different examples and how it could help you heal even the most challenging Filipino relationships that you may have. So, let me just begin by saying that definitely one of the reasons that maybe you are not more receptive to receiving support, therapy, whatever is therapeutic for you, is because there's hiya, there's feeling of shame. We have this Filipino kind of proverb, kung anong puno, siyang bunga. Whatever the tree, so shall be the fruit. And in many ways, it's so beautiful if it goes the right way, quote and unquote, for the particular tree or the family lineage. And this is when you feel like you can only do right if your parents kind of agree with what you're doing, and shame on you if you're not. And that's the shadow side of that proverb, because as much as we have generational trauma, we can pass on our trauma. We can also pass on our resiliency, the way that we persevere, and I think that's a beautiful thing. But indeed, I always share with therapists that I also teach that, especially in the context of a more collectivistic culture, when someone receives a diagnosis, it is a diagnosis that the family, it's not just an individual diagnosis, but it feels like a family diagnosis because kung anong puno, siyang bunga. And of course, that's not always the case, you know. From that perspective, you could understand that if there's they think that if there's something wrong with the fruit, there's something wrong with the branch, the trunk, the roots, the tree, and the rest of the trees in that forest. So it talks more of a ancestral shame, if you will. So I'm going to set that aside. I want you to know that that is true and that can also happen. I'm talking about shame or hiya as a Filipino love language. Okay, let me give you an example. In a more collectivistic culture, it is one of the teaching. So in American culture, we teach our children this is your space. You go to preschool, you have your own spot. You know, they might put some color coding carpet or whatnot, or put the names of your child on their chair. But it's teaching your child this is your space. In general, and everything is in general because we cannot talk about individual differences. We're talking about in general, most people, at least in the islands right now, the teaching is to really share your space. So there's a stark difference, okay? So in a collectivistic culture, let's say there's only a few pandesal on the plato, okay? And the shame part there, if somebody grabs three pieces of pandesal and the others haven't gotten the ration of the pandesal, the mother might say, ano ba yan? Mahiya ka naman. Shame on you, right? And to me, that's a Filipino love language because it is teaching that, and it might be hurtful, I understand, but it in the grander scheme of things, it teaches a child not to only think of his own space, but of also other people. So we say, oh, nakakaya naman, kinuha mo ang daming tinapay, while other people are also, they haven't had the ration. Now, there's a misunderstanding when people from the West, even if you're born in the West, that they think Filipinos in general in the Philippines are just collectivistic and they don't know how to think about also themselves. They do, but it's more the emphasis. So it's not like they can't just have their own space, but they're taught more to share their space. So obviously, we could learn from each other. For me, my growth really um, came from learning about different cultures. I learned most about the Filipino culture. First, I was born and raised there, but having distance from it and also learning different cultures. So that's one. It actually teaches you to think about other people, and not just yourself. Okay. Now, anything that I say, anything to the extreme, as I always say, has a shadow side. So the second one, and maybe I could think of a better example than this, but let's say couples, right? And when you do everything with your partner, your girlfriend, your husband, whatever, and there's no mystery, right? You kind of go to the toilet and the door is open. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm just using this as an example. If that's kind of you like doing that, uh, go for it, right? But I'm just using this as an example where, if you don't have Hiya, it breeds familiarity. There's like no mystery. And so, ayokong gawin yan, nakakaya naman sa husband ko. So there is this, Hiya kind of breeds that type of mystery. And I'm just using couple relationship, but it goes both ways, Oh, I'm not gonna do that to the other person. Nakakaya naman. So I don't want to show sort of like an inappropriate behavior. Which leads me to the third point. According to Virgilio Enriquez, father of Psikologiyang Filipino. Hiya is for the Filipino a way to control his loob and our inner workings, right? Sometimes we might be animalistic, right? And the hiya is to like, it stops us in our tracks, Don't hurt your neighbor. It solicits or elicits mutual respect. So that's the power of also hiya. You're just not gonna say things because it just pop out of your head, you know and me as a mom raising kids here in America, I how to balance, right? Like, you won't just say things just because it pop out of your head, for the sake of self-expression, and how to balance that. Leave the in the comments if you're a teacher, you're a parent, and how you help children balance self-expression and also this hiya that I'm talking about, which is a hidden Filipino love language. The last one that I would share is by Father Bulatao. He is a priest, psychologist from Ateneo. And he said that Hiya is a way to self regulate, so that we could also bring together or meet certain social expectations. And I know in the West, we're like, don't like being meeting social expectation. We all want to be individuals, but as that is true, you could be your own individual. See what happens in today's world when everybody wants to be an individual. We all want to regulate, who we are as a person, but also we all have a yearning to be seen, to belong, especially to belong. You could watch animals, monkeys, in groups, and you could see how there's hierarchy just in that primate kingdom. And imagine humans. I've just shared a few things how Hiya, okay, has a hidden why it's a hidden Filipino language. And of course, I'm not saying just shame people, but I'm saying that there is another face for Hiya. How this can help you if you're in a difficult Filipino relationship. If it comes across as just somebody shaming you, and they might be, because it's a case by case, but wonder also about their experience, why they are doing it. And I always say intention does not equal impact. Just because somebody does not intend to do it, somebody hits you with their car, obviously you're going to say ouch and don't do that. But it might be helpful to know if you thought that the person hit you with their car and they just thought about it, they intentionally did it, how your response would be different if you learned that the person actually maybe passed out while driving. So the impact will probably be the same, but how do you hold that impact and how that might be traumatic to you or not as much or not at all is actually understanding the intention. And that's what we bring in this channel, is to just bring a more holistic viewpoint, even a change of paradigm for you. Comment how this has been helpful to you. I'm Roanne Samuels. I am a Filipina licensed psychotherapist here in California. I hope you're doing having a wonderful day at sa uulitin. Bye now.